The Reptile Super Show in Pomona is always amazing, but this one felt extra special for me because this time I had a booth, and not just for vending, but for interviewing attendees and vendors from all walks of life and listening to their stories about how these amazing animals influence their lives. I had so many wonderful conversations that this will be a series of episodes. And I thought I'd start out with ones from a community that I think deserves more of a voice and representation in the hobby: neurodivergent reptile keepers. I hope you enjoy. Hi, what's your name?
My name is Michael Alexander Storm.
Michael Alexander Storm, welcome. I'm so happy to have you here.
I'm so grateful to be here to share insight.
Yeah, tell me all about why you love snakes.
The whole reason I love them is I was in a massive car accident, so half my body is rebuilt. Wow. So there was a period of time where I was stuck in a bed for 18 months. I couldn't really do a lot to interact with my family or my significant other or anything like that. And that's when I really started getting in touch with the reptiles and the snakes and stuff like that, because they're different than a cat or dog. Because I couldn't move being in a body cast, you know, the dog and the cat are going to bounce around, whereas the reptile, oh, you're a warm spot. They'll tend to curl up. And I learned that they're very smart. They're reactive to your moods. They can sense when you're upset. So I was talking to my husband about the fact that he goes, they're good for neurodivergency, and he'd never thought about that because they respond just like any other therapy animal. And that's what my reptiles were like. They could tell when I was hurting, and they have ways of alerting you or someone else of what's going on.
Oh, that's so amazing. So did you already have some pets?
Oh, I had several reptiles. I've been a reptile lover since I was a kid.
But when you were in the accident, that really just kind of like, these are my
people, because my world was literally the size of a king-size bed. So 108 inches by 108 inches for almost 2 years was my world.
Wow.
So a lot of things changed, dynamics with friends,
right?
How I interacted with things, because when you can't move, suddenly all these things that you would take for granted are now in a different space.
Right, and snakes don't judge you, they don't expect from you, but they will just be there and be present.
And they could tell when I was just staticky, as I called it, or getting agitated, and they would judge by that, and they would give affection by what they know. Over the years, I've had several that have learned to recognize people and interact with certain people, and they will react differently to different people.
Oh, wow, that's amazing.
So, like, I had one female named Rocket, and I'd had her ever since I was a child. And Rocket would knock on her cage to come out for attention, like you would rap on a door. I used to carry her in my backpack everywhere and use her to educate people that they're not slimy, they're not mean. And if I was upset, she would come and curl around your arm or on your shoulder and give hugs and squeeze.
Right. That that pressure, that weighted blanket.
Exactly. They're a living weighted blanket. Yeah. And so if you're autistic or something from a lot of other reactions, they helped you heal because they understood. They weren't as needy sometimes as other animals can be to you, which can be hard when you're divergent or you're suffering or you're having autistic moments. So they get discounted in so many ways for not being like the cats and the dogs, or thought of as unintelligent, and they're actually smarter in some cases, in my opinion.
I mean, they're so different. They're not overstimulating, and I think for a lot of neurodivergent people, that's huge. Because I love my dog, we love our cats, but they're just
they're too much.
Sometimes it's too much. And these, the reptiles, they seem to just be able to
take what you give and flow with it.
And you respond like it's like this give and take.
Right? And it's a beautiful give and take.
Yeah.
I have reptiles that are beside my bed that will alert if something goes wrong, if I'm having a seizure or something.
They will?
Mm-hmm. Oh, they will create a ruckus, and my significant other will be able to respond to that. And that was something most people don't realize.
How did they respond when you were having a seizure?
They would get, like the cats and dogs, they would get frantic. They would do what's not for their normal nature.
Wow.
That you would react to, because it's just not normally who they are. Because as a rule, reptiles pretty laid back, pretty chilled little things. They're like my Gila monsters, who are my pride and joy that I lost because I had beaded Gila for a long time, about 18 years, and they would literally sleep right as close as they could get to me through the glass of the cage, and they wanted nothing more than to be cuddled and petted, and everybody thinks, that they're such a dangerous animal. They were smarter than most of my human friends. My husband has a monitor lizard and he's neurodivergent, autistic, and would lay on his stomach and would respond to all those moments for him. And that was his go-to companion for when he was having a meltdown, was this little bitty, 4-foot lizard.
Wow.
So with these guys, they learn different behaviors. Like you said, my python, she learned to knock on her glass.
Amazing.
And because my routine was, she would knock on the glass. You could pick her up, put her on your shoulder. She'd go take a shower with me. We would interact and do our morning. And then when she was ready to go back, she would go to her cage, like you would tell the dog to go to a kennel. She'd start to lean. You could just see that's what she wanted to do.
I'm kind of moved right now.
So, and so many people, like you said, they don't think that they respond to us in that same light.
Your relationship with your reptiles is really inspiring.
It was wonderful, and it's heartbreaking, after 15, 20 years when one of them would pass.
Yeah.
Because it's like a part of your heart's gone, and then you have to find that other perfect fit.
Part of the journey, right, is creating that bond. I have one that's taking longer than some of the others, but just the experience of building that relationship.
That sounds like my Cool Ranch burrito. He's a rescued 4-foot exotic iguana that had never seen interaction. And he actually lives in a very large enclosure, and I have a red-footed tortoise named Sally. And he's very fascinated with Sally, and they've become friends. And then he realized that Sally was getting petted, and she was getting interaction. And you could see the wheels in his little mind turning. Oh, okay, hands aren't a problem.
Right.
I can be cuddled. And so as we help him heal, he's helping us heal over, because when you're divergent, touch is a big thing. Yeah. I have issues with people hugging, even though I try to be an outgoing, affectionate person. I'm an extro introvert. I've learned that an extrovert in the world survives well, but my introverted side gets very terrified of the world. Like this interview, even though it seems like I'm comfortable, I'm still having my introverted things happen because I'm vulnerable. And making myself vulnerable by sharing my story. But I also realize if that helps somebody else, even remotely, then I think speaking is more important than my fear.
You are very brave.
Thank you.
And I really, really appreciate you sharing.
And I appreciate this whole podcast because I think it's going to help so many people see, our scaly friends on the same level as the feathered and furred friends.
Exactly.
And that's the whole purpose.
And that they deserve to be respected just as
the same
much.
way. Exactly.
And how amazing is it that they have a unique ability to help people who have certain conditions.
Exactly.
It's a beautiful thing.
And they're not your traditional. They don't have the allergy components that a lot of the other pets that stop people from getting the therapy animals like you and I have.
Yeah.
Because they can't have that comfort. When I was little, my allergies were so bad, my comfort animal was a tortoise. My mother got me my first little eastern box turtle. And she would follow the dogs and bark and followed me everywhere and was very engaging. And that helped me overcome, being so lonely because I was a late in life only child for my parents. So all my siblings were all grown and gone, and there was no little kids in our neighborhood.
Wow.
So
well,
from the earliest times, that's what's helpful.
Well, thank you so much for sharing and being brave and talking about it. Because I'm actually not as much of an extrovert as I may come off as.
Exactly. We've learned to mask well.
Yes. But I know that it's helping people.
Yes.
And that is where
just like this whole information and podcast and sharing will help so many other people see that we're not strange weirdos because we keep the reptiles and we prefer them over human interaction in some cases. Or the furry interaction. So
different is not less.
No, it's more. My mother always taught me that different is more.
I love that.
So thank you. You have a blessed day and be well.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, that was so wonderful. That made my day. If you want to watch episodes ad-free, head over to Patreon to become a member. I think it costs about $19 a month to remove ads on YouTube, but by supporting the channel on Patreon, you could watch without ads for much less. Get some other nice perks to boot, all while helping me continue to make content focused on animal welfare and mental health and well-being. If you're staying here, that's okay, but don't forget to subscribe and hit that like button before you go, as that's another way to help support the mission here. Hi.
Hello.
What's your name?
Andrew.
Andrew?
Nice
Andrew,
to meet
very
you.
nice to meet you.
I saw your video on ADHD specifically. So that one really clicked with me because you weren't just talking nonsense. That I was like, oh, okay, she's just spitting out information. This was stuff I was able to relate to and stuff I was able to correlate to my life.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, since I've had reptiles, my life has been, I've been able to calm down a lot, relax. I mean, I look forward to waking up, seeing my reptiles, going home and seeing them, you know?
Yeah.
Me and my girlfriend, we got into it together.
Yeah.
So we go to new reptile places all over the city. So
Yeah.
every weekend, that's kind of our thing. So
Oh, really?
yeah, so
Yeah.
it's been pretty cool for me.
So it's like at home and then just the adventures to go
Yeah.
see them. It's exciting.
It's great because there's always something new you can do. You know, it keeps me on track to being able to like look forward to doing something every weekend. You know, whether it's buying a new stick, new logs, new hides, whatever. It's just there's always something new that you can add on, and it's a great adventure for me. So.
Right. And giving to them.
Yeah.
Right? And nurturing them is therapeutic for
Yeah,
us
it is.
too, right?
You know, take care of something. You know, like
Yeah.
it's nice being able to see something like happy. It's cool to be able to see something like exotic and be able to take care of it. You know?
Yeah, yeah. And do you feel like you have relationships with your animals?
Yeah, I do. I mean,
Yeah.
I come home every day. I watch TV with my lizards all around me.
Right.
So yeah, so
That's so
it's
awesome.
cool. It's something I look forward to every day. You know.
It's like people say they can't remember, they don't recognize
Yeah.
us. You know.
No, I mean my bearded dragon. Every day he comes to the glass and I hand feed him. I mean it's a cool thing. You know.
That's so cool. And you were saying that you're possibly looking at getting a snake yourself.
Yeah, I'm looking at getting a rainbow boa.
A Brazilian
That's something I've been
rainbow,
wanting.
right?
Yeah, a Brazilian rainbow.
Yeah,
For the last
yeah.
like 2 months, I've been wanting one.
And you've been doing research for
I've
a
done
while,
a lot of
right?
research. Yeah,
that's
trying to
good.
just trying to look at the humidity and everything they need and
Yeah,
everything, so I'm prepared. You know, I don't want to just go and impulsively buy a snake.
right. And you can go on iNaturalists.com and look up where they've been seen in the wild.
Okay.
And then you look at the climate data,
Yeah.
and then you can look at what that actually is,
Yeah, 'cause
as opposed to like what the care sheet says.
Yeah.
And then you're really kind of getting a sense of like, oh, they saw it in this kind of tree with these branches,
Yeah.
and then you're like, oh, maybe I'll arrange it like
Yeah,
that.
taking little bits and pieces from their actual home. You know?
Yeah,
Not just from what people think about it.
yeah, because
Oh, that's
everybody
cool.
simplifies
Yeah.
snake care to make it easy for us.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, there's a lot more that goes into it.
right. It's also kind of fun for people with ADHD,
Yeah.
like myself and yourself, that to like hyper focus,
Yeah.
right? And so when you go on iNaturalist and you search for the species and you see like
Yeah.
all
All
these
sorts
people,
of windows you can look at.
yeah,
And stuff.
it's so
Yeah,
fun.
it's cool.
Like you can just go down a rabbit hole.
I mean, that's the cool thing about reptiles in general. You know, there's always like something new, like something that you can always dive into. There's always
Yeah.
all sorts of videos. So I mean, it's great.
Yeah.
I can't wait to watch more of your videos.
Oh,
so.
thank you so much. I'm
was
so
nice
glad
to
to
meet
meet you.
you.
Thank you. What's your name?
Christina.
Christina. I'm Shira. Very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So, you want to talk to me about your reptile relationships?
Yes. I got a reticulated python.
You do?
Yes. I named her Aphrodite. Because she has little, the saddles on her back kind of look a little like hearts. Though I also nicknamed her my sweetheart because she totally is when she isn't being a little bit of.
They are very smart and
Yes.
curious
Yeah.
and they've got a lot of personality, right?
Oh yeah, they do.
yeah?
Oh
Is she
yeah.
your only snake?
Yeah, she's the only one I have.
Uh-huh.
She's actually the reason why I had to move out of my parents' place. Mom said if I had a snake, I couldn't have it in the house.
Okay.
I bought it. I had asked if I could have her. Parents said no.
Got it anyway?
Got it anyway. Mom said, okay, you have till the end of the year to get out of the house. Find a place, find a job, find a place, get out of the house.
Okay.
So I did. moved up to Big Bear.
Oh,
So,
wow.
Yes.
You know, that's hard. That's really hard. It sounds like it could have been really painful, but it also could be empowering. How do you
Yes.
feel about
It does feel empowering. If it hadn't been for her, I probably wouldn't have been we wouldn't have felt as happy being with my parents.
it? Right.
It's
So this animal kind of inspired a whole journey for you. That's amazing. That's amazing. And so why snakes?
there's always been a bit of it for a long time. One of my friends had a snake for a while, and I was always fascinated by it. My family, we only ever had dogs, and for a short amount of time, a bird. Something about them, I remember getting really, really big in high school into them. I would check out this one book about different types of species, and that's one of the things that actually got me into the reticulated, because I was really fascinated with all of the iridescent snakes, and reticulateds were on there. It's like, oh man, they just look so beautiful. And then I started going to shows and seeing all the different morphs, and it was just so much. And and for a long time I was thinking it wouldn't matter what snake, but then I came to an expo, and I saw her, I held her, and I just fell in love with her.
You just knew.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And do you handle her regularly?
I try. She's not bitey, but she is flighty. She doesn't. If she feels like she's had enough touch, even if I haven't taken her out completely, she will go right back into a corner or into a little cork log where she knows I can't get her,
Right.
unless I absolutely have to. But I usually only ever do that
Right.
when I need to give her medicine.
Right. Right. So she's letting you know, like, not today.
Exactly.
Not today. And I think some of us like to do that too.
Yeah, I've done that too. There have been days where I'm like, I do DoorDash. There have been days where like, I need to do DoorDash, but I don't want to do DoorDash. I don't want to leave the house.
I don't want to talk to anyone today. I don't want to talk to anyone. Even for me, like, I'm going to do interviews, and I came here today being like, I don't want to talk to anyone, but I'm so happy I am. It's an interesting parallel sometimes.
I guess one of the things I really do like about reptiles, especially snakes, especially larger snakes, is that once you got everything set up for them, for the most part, they're completely happy being ignored until they're being fed. And there are times when I just don't want to interact with anything.
Right.
If I don't mind just watching her, and I can watch her for hours. I've watched her for hours before, just completely lost track of time. But for the most part, she's perfectly happy just having a piece of glass between the two of us.
Yeah.
Until it's time for me to feed her. And then she's really, really excited to be fed. But for the most part, as far as she's concerned, I'm just there to feed her. And but
you are my servant.
Exactly. But it also means that on the days when I'm feeling really bad, when I'm not feeling like doing anything, all I have to do is really just clean out and refill her water bowl, and I don't have to worry about needing to enrich her by playing with her or taking her out or anything. And that would be harder with a dog or a cat. And also sometimes I can just be a little bit forgetful about things. Like if I set a time to do something, unless I have like a timer or something, I'll forget it. And you can't like do that when you're feeding a dog or a cat. But with a snake, as long as I'm within a week of when I normally feed her, she won't care. It won't be a big deal for her. They're used to going even weeks or even months without food. So just a few days off
is not going to hurt them.
It's not going to hurt them. And it keeps me from being too stressed out about a strict schedule for her.
Right.
And a lot of stress can really put me into a mental spiral, and I just can't do that.
Right. And at the same time, knowing that you are still caring for this animal, you don't have to give more than you need to give, but you still get all this joy from watching her. You are caring for her too, even if you're not actually taking her out.
When I do have her out, I just like having her on me. I like feeling when she's wrapping around me. I like stuff like that, like really pressure that really helps me. That's why I love my corsets. It's like a full body hug without being touched by another person.
Oh, interesting. So yeah, so you're not into being touched by people, but a hug from a snake or something like that feels really good.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. Normally I just do one-armed hugs because getting too close just gets me anxious.
So why do you think that when it's a snake, it doesn't make you anxious, but when it's a person, it does? I mean, that's a big question. So it's
part of it, I think, is the difference in temperature and texture. It doesn't. She doesn't feel human. She doesn't. So she's not hot like it would be with another person. I don't feel that it's. The texture of the scales is way different than the texture of skin or cloth. So I don't feel like I'm being suffocated because she's not big enough to really completely envelop me when I don't want to do.
It's like a gentle pressure.
Yeah.
That makes sense. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you so much for sharing with me. I really appreciate you taking the time. Can I shake your hand?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, thank you.
My name is Vanessa.
Okay.
Yes.
And are you here for anything in particular today?
Yes, I am. I'm actually shopping for, I have a son who struggles a lot with, mental illness and things like that. So he actually, he loves animals, loves snakes, loves reptiles, and they help him a lot. It's kind of like his meditation.
Oh, wow. That's so interesting.
Yeah, definitely is meditation. So it's kind of like a ongoing thing. I'm here actually shopping for him, just because it's a little too much for him to come into a place like this.
Very overwhelming.
Yeah,
place.
very, very busy. A lot of people. So I come and do the shopping for him.
Does he tell you like I like this type of snake?
Oh,
or
yes.
do you do research with him? Or?
I do research with him. So it's definitely been like a good bonding thing between me and him. I mean, I guess we both help each other with the reptiles. I home two in my room now just to kind of help him out. And yeah, we just together, we take care of them and
that's beautiful
and go for it. So it's actually been really, really positive. Definitely as just even for me and him relationship wise. Something to bond with that helps him, that, calms him and gives him something to do. Definitely.
He has snakes already?
He has many snakes already. Yeah, and he just kind of just throughout the day because he does stay home pretty much all the time, so that's kind of like his comfort zone, and he's home and he holds them and takes them out when he wants, takes them outside, and so he enjoys caring for them.
The aspect of the routines and the caring, the process, right?
Yes, definitely.
It helps kind of give you this purpose and the tasks and kind of keeps you on track, right?
Perfect. Yes, it does. And it keeps him busy. It keeps him with something to do every day. And yeah, it gives him a big sense of purpose. And of course he wants to get into, opening up his own business at some point. And, he thinks about that and kind of like, breeding. And so he wants to make something out of it, something that he can do from home. And so yeah, he's been successful. He does his research, and again, I'll just kind of add to it, and then we do it together.
That's really beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing that.
Yeah,
really
you're welcome.
It was so good to meet you.
Nice
I
to
hope
meet you
you
too.
find what he's looking for.
Yeah,
and maybe
definitely.
You're looking for.
Exactly. They're already choosing a couple different. So
okay, awesome. Thank you.
All right,
so
thank you guys so much.
Hi there.
Hi.
What's your name?
I'm Hunter Magdovitz.
I'm Shira Loa.
It's a pleasure to meet you.
Very nice to meet you. And I am so excited to talk to you because you were just talking about your relationship with your snakes.
Yes.
And I thought it was really interesting.
I've had everything from ball pythons to red-tailed boas to sand boas, horn snakes. And every snake, like people, even species-wise, can be a little different, personality-wise, so you never know what you get. But at the same time, as long as you get to know them, then they're going to get used to you. You still have to be careful because they're still like people. They have their good days, the bad days. So it's just learning that body language, just like with people. I grew up with a household of animals, so dogs, cats, flying squirrel, my family having fish. So for me, just having pets and animals in general, whether it's snakes or dogs, that's what makes it home for me. It's just not home without a pet. And I love reptiles, so I love being able to have them at house and be able to see them, and just makes me happy. Not to mention that a cold snake when you're hot is your best friend. This is a bit like having a cold cooling towel around your neck, because they will soak up your heat.
That's so interesting. Someone else mentioned that yesterday about how they run hot, but their reptiles cool them down, and then they help the reptile warm up. I love that. It's like a double-way comfort.
Yeah.
So what is it about reptiles that you love so much?
I don't know. I guess I really don't know. I've always found them fascinating and just really love I think it's the same reason why I like dinosaurs and dragons. It's just, I love those things.
They're unique, right?
Yeah.
They're so different than us.
I had one we named Linus because his favorite thing was to be held in a blanket.
Aww.
And it was the cutest thing. If we were cooking, he'd try and pop the lid out of his cage so he could look and smell we were cooking. And a lot of people don't get, they can be specific about their food. Like he liked eggs, but he would not touch it if it was hard boiled, or if it was raw. He liked his eggs scrambled. Like if you gave him anyway, he wouldn't touch the eggs. But if you give him plain scrambled eggs, he was all for it. Or I love sand boas because they're a great one if you're trying to get people over their fear, because they feel a little smoother, a little rough, kind of like sand, so they don't have that scaled sensation. And they have the cutest, derpiest faces, and that's the other thing. They don't have the traditional.
How can anyone look at that face and be scared? Right?
My favorite one we had, her name was Mookie, and she was the dorkiest thing. Like, you could put her in her lap, she would then shove her face under between your legs, and then she would stay so just like, oh, you can't see my head, so I'm hidden.
I'm invisible.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's so cute.
Or I missed my Savannah monitors. Savannahs are one of the more friendlier monitor lizards, but again, it's like with any lizard, especially, and that's the mistake people make with like big lizards like iguanas and monitors. If you want them as a hold me reptile, you have to put that work in with them from the beginning to get them used to socialize them.
Yeah.
I've known friends who had monitors and iguanas who come running up to you like a little dog and excited for pets and want you to love and hug them and everything. And you can socialize them with your other animals, but again, you have to put the time in. And it's not just training the animal, you have to train the people. And people don't realize that it's not just the animal you're training, you're also training yourself to get used to those, to learn those behaviors, to keep up with that behavior.
Exactly. And that's kind of why my tagline is learning about snakes while learning about ourselves.
Yeah. Because
we have this ability when we're working with them and we respect them.
And no matter what you're working with, there's always the risk of getting bit. And you have to be willing to understand that it's not, sometimes it's a defensive thing, sometimes it's a hunger thing, sometimes it's just I've had enough, so I'm going to bite you to let you know, hey, I'm over it.
Yeah.
But biting is never the first response. No. Again, if you pay attention, there's body language. They're going to hiss at you. They're going to try and get away with you. There's certain, like when you've worked with them, you learn that like, oh, they're not in the mood to be held. It's like with anything. Every snake's a little different. Everything's personality-wise, temperament-wise can be a little different. But just like people, it's different.
Yeah, I mean, they're all individuals, and I find that the more we give them what they need, the more willing they are to interact with us and are calmer and trust us more too. So did you come here to get something in particular, or you just? Oh,
we came to get stuff. We also came to enjoy this. We were here yesterday as well. Usually we come out this way for the Reptile Super Show. It's one of our favorite things to do. So this is the first year where they actually had it priced nicely, where it's like $20 for both days. And that's amazing. So we were actually able to come for both days. So that was really nice. We got a sand boa from one of the vendors over that way. And it was really nice to get a sand boa again, because I missed my sand boa because it was one of my favorites.
Oh, yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing.
Oh, it was a lot of fun. I appreciate the opportunity.